Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Week in Solar, your weekly roundup of the biggest stories in solar energy in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Aaron Nichols, the Research and Policy Specialist here at Exact Solar in Newtown, Pennsylvania. And today, I wanted to talk about Solar for All being canceled. We talked about that in a previous video. Back in August, the EPA pulled funding for this program, which would have helped more than 900,000 households save hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year by installing solar on low-income homes and investing in community projects all around the country. Last week, several groups, including Solar United Neighbors and cities all across the country, filed lawsuits against the EPA for canceling the project and attempting to claw back the funds. I wanted to do something a little different this week. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers with stories like this. We hear 900,000 households and think, wow, that's a lot of people. But we don't always stop to think about the human impact. And I wanted to take today's episode to zoom in on a couple singular stories that I've heard from articles that I read in the last couple weeks as this story has developed. Earlier this week, on October 11th, the New York Times published a piece featuring the story of Jennifer McCoy, a single mother of 3 from Georgia. I've linked the article below in today's email. Miss McCoy works 2 jobs, as a delivery driver for Walmart and a manager at a tire shop. She uses food stamps for groceries and often struggles to pay her bills. Electricity has become one of her biggest monthly costs because Georgia residents have seen electricity prices rise by 33% in the last 2 years. In August, Miss McCoy's electricity bill was $548. It's situations like this that Solar for All was designed for. It was federal money earmarked to help our most vulnerable citizens save money on electricity. Imagine what a single mother of 3 could have done with an extra $500 a month freed up. Of the $156 million that was awarded to the state of Georgia in Solar for All funding, the Georgia Bright Communities Coalition planned to use $12 million of it to put solar energy systems on more than 900 low-income houses like Miss McCoy's, so they could put the money they were forced to spend on out-of-control electricity bills to better use. Georgia Bright held a randomized drawing to find homeowners interested in putting solar on their roofs and received more than 500 entries within 24 hours of opening it up on their site. Among them were the McCoy family. 3 days later, when the EPA pulled funding, Georgia Bright was forced to pause the program, leaving those hundreds of households like the McCoys feeling like the rug had just been pulled out from under them. Later that day, in a social media video, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin called the program a, quote, boondoggle from the Biden administration, which would waste, quote, billions of green slush fund dollars. Among the organizations now suing the EPA for canceling Solar for All is Harris County, Texas, which had planned to use the money to cut power bills and create community hubs that would keep vulnerable neighborhoods safe during extreme weather events and outages. The county would have deployed rooftop solar and battery systems for tens of thousands of low-income households and invested in community energy hubs at rec centers, colleges, and administrative buildings, which were designed to double as safe havens during Gulf Coast heat waves and storms, provide backup power for cooling medical devices, and communications when outages hit. Harris County sued the EPA to restore roughly $400 million in grants that the county and partner cities had lined up to cut power costs for low-income residents and to use solar energy to make community facilities less susceptible to outages. Solar for All wasn't some frivolous climate incentive. It was built to lower bills for people who routinely choose between groceries, gas, and their electricity payment. The program had also enjoyed bipartisan interest and support. States that went red in the 2024 election, like Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina, applied for or received funding from Solar for All. Several conservatives publicly acknowledged the appeal of giving working families access to rooftop solar and batteries they otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford. It was designed so that our most vulnerable citizens could keep more of their desperately needed money. It was intended to stop single moms from having to choose between food and electricity. As this story unfolds over the next few months and cities all over the country fight for the grants they were promised, please don't forget the human cost in all the numbers. As always, sources for today's post are in the email below. If you are watching on Substack, please subscribe or send this post to a friend. It really helps us grow. And if you are watching on YouTube, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Thanks very much, and we will see you next week on This Week in Solar.